The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Charleston Fire, Oregon, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37605. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation. Starting on the face of the front bumper on the passenger and driver side, you'll find dual air horns. Directly in the center on the face of the bumper, you'll find your mechanical siren. As we move up onto the side of the cab, you'll find a turn indicator marker light. Just inside of that location is the headlight structure housing a low and high beam. High beam will be located on the inside. Directly above that, you'll find the turn indicator and emergency warning light cluster. There are 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. As we move to the A-pillar, you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving up to the brow, you'll find 5 ID clearance lights. Located in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. As we move up onto the roof, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Let's go ahead and take a look at some close-ups of the items that we just talked about. First, starting with the front bumper. These are the air horns on the passenger and driver side. In the center, mechanical siren. Moving to the headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. Just above that, turn indicator and forward-facing emergency warning light. Windshield wipers, there are 3. Lower section of the grille area. As we move up to the top of the brow, you'll find the ID clearance lights and also forward-facing floodlight. Let's move around to the side of the apparatus where you'll find an emergency warning light located on the front section of the cab. Just up from this location, marker light. And then as we move just above this to the A-pillar is where you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. Let's move to the stepwell area of the driver door where you'll find first an air inlet and then also auto eject shoreline power 20 amp. Let's take a look at the door area. First, easily accessible with a gloved hand and also a keyed lock, your door grab handle next to that. As we move inside the cab area, affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock, latch, electric window controls, and a grab handle. Also, you'll find the yellow placard indicating manufactured by Pierce for your department, indicating the 5-digit job number, date of manufacture, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, VIN number, all of the fluid capacities, fluid type, and also their amount. As we move to the base of the seat, you'll find your voltage indicator. When plugged into shore power, this is active. Also on the floor, a mechanical siren foot pedal. As we move to the dash area on the left, master battery switch, engine, transmission, J1939 diagnostic port. Just below that, you'll find 4 switches, ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit. As we move to the right side of the steering column, you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions on the panel from road to pump, and then also instructions from pump to road. Just as a reminder, 2 green indicators before exiting the cab, pump engaged, and OK to pump. Let's take a look at the dash area. We'll start on the very left side with the ignition and start switch. Just inside of that location, a switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. This engages or disengages all emergency lights. Also, you'll find next to that headlight switch and panel switch, allowing you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator. On the opposite side of the column, you'll find the OK to engage your high idle switch and indicator. You'll also find mirror control for the flat and convex mirror. As we move up, you'll find the yellow diamond, which is your pull to apply your system parking brake, and push to release. Right next to that, your Allison transmission pad, push button, digital readout. We do have additional switches. We'll go over those in just a moment. Let's start with the switching panel. First, engine brake on and off switch. Also, engine brake low, medium, and high, load manager, and mirror heat. Just above that, you'll find your monitor for your backup camera. Right next to that, push to apply fluid to the windshield wiper and windshield wiper control. Heat, air conditioning, and defrost. Moving to the right, two 12-volt access, USB, and also barrel style. You also have a engine cowling plate for additional mounting of equipment. Moving overhead, you'll find the height of the vehicle, 9 feet 8 inches, length 29 feet 7 inches, gross vehicle weight rating 42,000 pounds. Overhead, emergency master switch, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. Just to the right, an additional switch panel. These are going to house your front flood, driver scene, passenger scene, rear scene, and a selector switch for your air horn electric siren module. Let's move to the center section overhead in the officer and driver space, where you'll find in the front section the Haas system for traffic mitigation. Also, you'll find your Pierce seatbelt information display, red indicating in the seat and not belted, green in the seat and belted. Also, your do not move your apparatus when light is on, indicating your door is open or ajar. As we move to the front axle, Goodyear tires, steel wheel, and a visual sight gauge. As we move over the front axle, side-facing emergency warning light, and additional access directly behind the driver's seat. Let's move further back to the cab section. Easily accessible once again with a gloved hand, your door handle, and also a grab handle right next to it, and emergency warning light. At the top, you'll find a side-facing scene light. As we move inside, affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information. As we move to the step well, you'll find additional step lighting. Also, as we move inside the cab area at the rear, you'll find lift and turn latch gains you access to the rear portion of the engine for your daily checks for oil and transmission. Also, there are two forward-facing seats. These do have SCBA brackets within them. Overhead air conditioning unit. Let's move exterior now. Let's start first at the pump panel in the lower section with a perimeter light. As we move to the bottom section of the panel, we'll start down in the bottom left and work our way up. First, starting with your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet on the driver's side, locally controlled ball valve. Also right next to that, you'll find color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Right next to that, you'll find the red placard, which is your Watrous placard, indicating the type of pump that you have and GPM. Right next to that, manual pump shift. As we move just to the left, you'll find a warning placard. Only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after proper training. To the right, you'll find your fire pump drain. As we move to the upper left, you'll find a 2.5-inch discharge. Also an additional warning placard here regarding warning. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. To the right, the American flag Eagle Pierce logo. This is your large diameter pump inlet. Let's go ahead and take a look at some close-ups. First with the Watrous placard, 1,500 GPM pump, color-coded and labeled discharge drains, 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet, 2.5-inch number 1 discharge, warning pressure hazard label, American flag Eagle Pierce logo, large diameter driver's side inlet, main pump drain. Let's move up onto the pump panel. We'll start first. We have some discharges for number 1 and number 3. Large diameter passenger side discharge. Tank fill and recirculating line in addition to your tank to pump. Just up from that location, engine cooler. We are clustered for the crosslay 1 and 2 and also the 2.5-inch crosslay. Directly in the middle, we have an additional placard. This is your minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 psi. Deluge discharge, rear discharge, fire pump primer, push to prime air, at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices, and a water tank level indicator. Moving further up on the panel, you'll find a warning regarding entanglement hazard because the line's coming from the crosslay. There's the possibility of entanglement. Pressure throttle governor. Right next to that in the same gray module is an audible alarm. This is the speaker for that. The outer edge does rotate. In the next gray module, master intake and master discharge. Between the two of those are the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently plugged, and these are utilized for testing purposes. As we move further to the right, you'll find switches, also an OK to pump indicator light, and at the very top, warning, when climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. Let's take a look at some close-ups. First, tank fill recirculating line and tank to pump, engine cooler. Large diameter passenger side discharge. Driver 1, driver 2 passenger side discharge. Crosslay 1 and 2 and the 2.5-inch crosslay. Minimum operation maintenance schedule. Deluge discharge, driver rear discharge, fire pump primer, and water tank level indicator. Let's move up to the very top section where you'll find your panel lights, OK to pump, and additional scene lights. As we move to the next area, master intake gauge, master discharge, pump boss, pressure throttle governor, and then also warning entanglement hazard. Let's move up to the front side of the crosslay area where you'll find crosslay 1, 2, and also the 2.5-inch crosslay. You'll also find at the very top section LED water tank level indicator. Let's take a look at the body section of the vehicle. First, starting in front of the rear axle, you'll find a marker turn indicator. Directly over the axle in the front section, SCBA bottle storage location, emergency warning light side facing, additional SCBA bottle storage location and fuel, water tank level indicator, emergency warning light, side facing scene light. Let's go ahead and take a look inside the first compartment. At the very top section, when plugged into Shoreline Power, this is your battery charger. This will maintain batteries for your vehicle. Let's look in front of the rear axle. SCBA bottle storage for location here for 2 SCBA bottles, retaining straps, and also the DEF fill location. Goodyear tires, steel wheel. Let's look directly over the rear axle, side-facing emergency warning light. As we look to the rear of the axle, SCBA bottle storage for 2 bottles with retaining straps, and then your ultra low sulfur diesel fill location. Directly over the axle, tool board, D-handle gains you access to the rear portion where there is a lock. At the very top section, LED water tank level indicator toward the rear of the apparatus. At the top section, you'll find a side-facing scene light and emergency warning light. As we move to the next compartment back, this is a through compartment to the passenger side. Also a tray in the lower section, the release mechanism for that tray located on the lower right. General view here of the side and rear section of the apparatus. Let's take a look at the rear under the running tailboard. Perimeter lights and also a tow bar. As we move to the left side, you'll find at the top emergency warning light, brake, turn, and backup light. Above that, you'll find hose bed lights and rear scene light switches. Directly above that, the location for your license plate and light. Just above that, a rear scene light at the very top section. And as we move all the way to the very top section, you'll find a emergency warning light. Let's take a look at the left side of the hose bed area. 2.5-inch discharge. We also have some warning placards located in this area. First, let's start with entanglement hazard. Because those lines coming from aloft, there's the possibility of entanglement. Also pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Fall, never ride on the vehicle while it's in motion, and always face the vehicle while climbing onto the vehicle. As we move to the right, you'll find your backup camera. As we move inside the lower compartment, roll-up compartment door, adjustable shelf on the outside edge of the vertical surface, fold-down steps. As we move to the right, once again, you'll find at the very top section of this cluster, emergency warning light, brake light, turn, and reverse light. Side-facing scene light. As we move inside to the compartment, D-handle gains us access to ladder storage for a 24-foot extension ladder, 14-foot roof ladder, a 10-foot attic ladder, and then also long-handled tool storage. Let's move up to the very top section where you'll find an emergency warning light. Let's take a look at the combination rear and side of the passenger area. We'll start first at the very top section with the emergency warning light at the top. Side-facing scene light. As we move down to the rear portion of the compartment, underneath you'll find mud flaps. As we move inside the compartment, you'll find LED lighting, pull-out tray in the bottom section, and an adjustable shelf. Release mechanism located on the lower right side. Just to the rear of the axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage for 3 bottles with retaining straps. As we move inside the compartment, ventilation. Just down from this location, emergency warning light side facing. And as we move all the way down to the axle and wheel, steel wheel, Goodyear tires. Let's move just in front of the rear axle, SCBA bottle storage for 3 bottles with retaining straps. As we move to the exhaust, extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist. Please be cautious where you park your vehicle, especially during regen operations. As we move forward to this location, adjustable shelf, LED lighting, and also ventilation. Moving out to the forward section of the body, you'll find an LED water tank level indicator and grab handle. As we move to the pump panel itself, let's start down at the very bottom section with a perimeter light in the lower portion of the running board. As we move to the pump panel itself, let's start at the bottom section, color-coded and labeled discharge drains. We do have some additional warning placards in this area. First, let's start with a pressure hazard warning. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. 2.5-inch passenger side discharge. Large diameter passenger side discharge. That is the green label. Just to the left of that, you'll find the American flag Eagle Pierce logo. This is the passenger side pump inlet. Also an access door for gaining access behind the pump panel in this specific area. This is the location of your relief valve and set screw. You'll also find on the pump panel face your cab lift. There are instructions to raise the cab. There are also instructions on the placard to lower the cab. We do have some caution and danger placard information also on this device. Just to the left of that, lift and turn latch gains you access for additional access behind the pump panel. In the upper portion of this area, you'll also find a switch for turning a light on in the pump area. As we move to the side upper portion, crosslays, crosslay 1 and 2, and also the 2.5-inch crosslay. Grab handle for gaining access to the upper portion of the body area. As we move to the cab area, let's identify a few items. First, 2 lower zone emergency warning lights, one at the rear section of the cab door, one at the forward section of the front officer door. At the very top section of the rear section of the cab, side-facing scene light, easily accessible grab handles, keyed door locks. As we move to the front axle, you'll find mud flaps to the rear. In the step well, you'll find additional step lighting. As we move inside the cab, affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, electric window control, and a grab handle. At the hinge point, you'll find a red grab handle for gaining access in and out of the cab. At the rear section inside, you'll find additional heaters on the passenger and driver side for the rear section of the cab. Forward-facing seats on the rear wall, there are two. They do contain SCBA brackets. And once again, lift and turn latch to gain access to the rear portion of the engine. Overhead is your air conditioner, also push on and off white or red lens lights. As we move exterior, Goodyear tire, steel wheel, visual sight gauge in the center of the axle. Over the top, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light, and moving directly above this, you'll find additional storage here. D-handle gains you access directly behind the officer seat. As we look inside, fully enclosed, let's go ahead and move forward now. Grab handle gains you access into the officer space and also a keyed lock and grab handle. As we move to the step well, you'll find additional lighting in the step area. Let's go ahead and go inside. We'll first start with the floor area. On the right side, A-pillar is the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Also a storage location under the seat area of the officer seat. On the left side of the dash, you'll find an air horn, mechanical siren, and siren brake push buttons. As we move overhead of the officer seat, you'll find additional storage locations. Moving to the front exterior, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. And as we move up onto the A-pillar, you'll find a marker turn indicator light. General view of the apparatus from the officer side. Congratulations, Charleston Fire District, Oregon, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37605. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.